Close out the Facebook page. What does that mean?
Just close out that tab.
Like push the red button?
Not on Zoom, but on Facebook. Otherwise, it's going to echo.
Okay.
We're live.
Okay, and then can I see people talking?
If you do, it's going to be echoey. So I'll put them in the chat in Zoom.
Okay, so we're doing a past life right now because this is a past life where you and I were on this computer yesterday. All right, are we ready to go? It's Tuesday. It's the leading into a full moon. I hope you guys are feeling it. Can you? Anybody out there? Let me know you're out there. Let me know you're out there. Here come little hearts. Woo! Here come little hearts. Woo! Like that, Carrie. Is there little hearts?
Not yet, but it takes a little while for everybody to get on. So we'll give them a few minutes.
Well, let's start with the prayer. And we're live on Facebook and we're being videoed and it's all going. And yes, all that stuff is happening. Yes. Is that true, Carrie?
That is true. Yep. Ashley says she's here. Kathleen says she's here. Andrea says good morning. So people are joining us and lots of hearts.
Good morning. Good morning, you guys. So this conversation is so meaningful today. I think it's one of my favorites. We're going to talk about how karma, which is a funny, vague word. Let's start there. Everything we're talking about today is abstract. This session, while astrology for me is very concrete, because it's based on your birth time and the place you were born, and it's pure science. Astrology is based on astronomy, which is a picture of the moment you were born. You take a breath, they get the camera out, they execute a chart based on mathematical details to find out where was the sun and the moon and Mercury and Venus and Mars, what position in the sky is it. Like right now, it's early in the morning here in Colorado. So the sun is probably in the 11th house. It's in the house of astrology right now as we speak. But what the point is that depending on what city you're in, what time you're born, and the date of your birth, we can determine that mathematical hard science about your chart. However, the soft science is where's your south node as far as your past lives? What's your karma? That would be looking at Saturn and the aspects. How many red and blue lines are there in your chart to determine the easy and the hard path? What's the nature of your life lessons? So there's that abstract right brain woo-woo factor. And then there's the hard science, factual, no arguing with where was the moon at 9:15 in the morning on Tuesday, January, don't tell me, 30th. And once you know the exact time, you can let your left brain execute and relax. But the right brain is very abstract. And what's the difference between the right and left brain? The left brain is the male side that operates with linear logic and has everything to do with order and systems and hard reality and dealing with, like, you could think of Republicans being more left brain without judging it. We can't live without the left brain. It's how you get to the train on time. It's how your airplane is organized. It's how the heat comes on in your house. It's all the electricity. It's every physical plane is the left brain that has hard science connected to it that you can't argue with. The right brain is intuitive and it's musical and it's psychic and it's emotional and it's musical, spiritual, poetic. And it has a function of association. Think of children. Children are pure right brain function as babies. They have no left brain function. They can't speak. They don't have linear logic. They are, as soon as their mom leaves the room, the mom is dead, that you can't explain to them that the mom's just leaving the room. Don't worry, honey. That's right brain. It's a very emotional, raw, intuitive. It's based on associations and smells are really big. The left brain has no interest in that stuff. So there's a split down the middle between our male and our female side by virtue of our brain. And past lives or psychic abilities or karma or Reiki or chakras, these are all words that are right brain function. And they don't have, you can't prove there's a chakra. The Reiki that you do has no evidence in hard science. The past life is not, it's not altogether true, because what Alice Bailey said is we would know we were in the Aquarian age, we were turning the corner, when the right and left brain had a stronger connection, a bridge between the two. So there was hard evidence that the intuition of your past life is made real by concrete experience. So I'm going to tell you a story. One of my very dear friends has a son that was born blind. And over a period of years, she insisted that he'd get healed. And he was healed by a profound eye doctor who works with shamanic tools and has these incredible gifts. And the child went from being blind to seeing, to completely seeing, to now having a bad case of dyslexia, and the brain isn't functioning the way ours is, but his brain is very unusual. I tell you that story because as a child, he started drawing these pictures about what would look like Normandy Beach. That's what he kept drawing the same picture over and over again. And then he started buying little trucks and then little tanks. And then he started buying little war artifacts. And then he started wearing his father's hat that was so big in a tie. And he then started wearing a little suit to kindergarten. And he started displaying behaviors where he was so clear that he had been German and that he had been in Normandy and that he refused to go to school looking normal. And so over a period of years, he kept drawing this recurring picture of Normandy Beach and telling this story and talking about World War II, and then going on Amazon by the time he was 6 and 7 and buying all these artifacts in his room. And there was a TV show on ABC called The Ghost in My Child that's producing, they look for children who have past life memories. And they approached this family, and his father is a medical doctor and his mother is a very beautiful and articulate businesswoman. So it wasn't their land to be in the right brain. They were left brain people. And then ABC approached them and said, would your son, we've heard about his ability to talk about World War II and talk about Germany and talk about Normandy, and would you be willing to have him in a film? And they agreed. They were getting the contract ready. He's probably now about, I want to say 10 or 11. And eventually he was so obsessed with Nazis and he was so obsessed with World War II, he started going to do therapy because his mother was a little concerned. And eventually he requested, and the therapist suggested, that he go back to Normandy. So the mom and dad flew to Normandy and they went to Europe and they took this little boy. Now he's about, I want to say he's 12 at this point. And he gets there, 11 or 12. And when they get to the beach, there is a guide who's like a tourist guide who talks about the property and the land and what happened there and the history. And the little boy starts correcting her. She's saying, here's where the bunkers were and here's where the war happened. And he's like, no, that's not what happened. And then eventually he says, can you all leave me alone? He had a name that he remembered from his past life, which was, I think it was Bruce, something like, I want to say Heinrich, but it was a German name. And then he literally takes off his clothes to his underwear, goes to the beach and has everyone leave him alone. And he dunks himself in the water and he comes back out and he does a whole ceremony and he's in this incredible state. And then he comes back, dresses and starts talking to the guide, the woman that was the tourist guide, in fluent German. And the mother and father are looking at him and looking at her and they're like, this is crazy. He's never taken a German class. Not only is he talking in fluent German, but he's talking in the highest level of German language, like the aristocratic, like if we were talking in England, he'd have the accent that displayed a higher end, a high level. So the mom and dad are in shock, and then he continues to speak German. Then finally he gets into the car and he goes into a deep sleep for the next couple of days. He's exhausted and he tells his mom, I don't want to do that TV show. I don't want to be the kid who has past life memories. I want to just have my name back, which I'm not going to use just to keep his anonymity. But he was a very hard, solid case of past life memory that he healed himself. He said, I'm no longer Bruce. I'm no longer interested. Please don't tell anyone I'm the kid that had past life memories. And I want to re-enter my life as my name. And now he is very interested in the military and he is in military kinds of interest to this moment. At the age of now, he's like 16 or 17. But that story is to tell you that past lives are real and that's where the bridge occurred. He was the bridge maker between the right brain memory and this instinctual visual feeling, and then the left brain articulation of German. It downloaded the memory and the complete identity was given back to him. And then the healing. So I'm here to tell you that past lives are real. There's no question. If there's one more evidence I want to give you the story of, if you look online, I think it's called the forbidden child. But it's the story of the tukus, or the Rinpoches in Tibet. They're called tuku, T-U-K-U, who, when they're little, they are very, very small, but they're found by the older Rinpoches that are in the Tibetan order that are part of the lineage from the Dalai Lama. They go and find these children who are recapitulating, which is a word for remembering, past lives of being a Tibetan Rinpoche. They wake up at a very young age by their ability to get ready. It's a great documentary. This changed it completely for me. Here's another hard evidence where past lives became scientifically proven. So you see this in this documentary, there is always an attendant to a Rinpoche up in the Tibetan mountains, and he lives with him. He's kind of like his right-hand man for his lifetime, who takes care of him because the Rinpoches are so revered and honored, revered. And so when the older Rinpoche dies, gets ready to die at the end of their life, they turn to their attendant and they say, okay, so I'm going to be born in, I'm going to use an American example. I'm going to be born in Florida, in Miami. My parents are going to have the initials T and A, and I'll be born probably under the sign of Aries. They give them some hard evidence or some concrete information. And then the Rinpoche dies. Fast forward, the attendant then goes to Miami, goes to that area that he described he was going to be living in, because, in Tibet, they can give the name, looking for parents that have T and A, looking for a child. And then they find, after great looking, you see on the documentary him going through the hills of the Tibetan area and finding and asking, are there any children that have been born under this time period? And they find a series of children, and then they wake the child up. They go into the little hut. They wake the child up in the middle of the night and they put a table out. And you see this on the documentary, with their skull cap, with their beads, with their spectacles, with their prayer books, and they put it all on a table, but there's like 4 sets of beads and 4 sets of spectacles and 4 sets of prayer beads, or prayer shawl, whatever, their little hats. And then the little boy, they say, can you show us what you used in your last life? And the little boy picks up every one of them and hands them exactly what he used in his last life. Then the attendant, who's now met his old friend, so beautiful, it's so heartfelt, takes that little boy away from the family. And the family, while they're heartbroken, they're so honored that their son was a Rinpoche. And then he takes the Rinpoche, and you see in the film, to the Dalai Lama. It's all documented. And the Dalai Lama meets the little boy, and the little boy gives him a little hug. And, it's just a little boy, but he's clearly remembering who he was. And then he gets taken into the temples, which was once the Portala. There was a place in Tibet, in the top of the highest mountains in the world. The Tibetans would meditate for thousands of years under the guidance, the tutelage of the Rinpoche at the time, who was the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama has reincarnated 13 lifetimes in a row, and they always find him by these same means. So that's the hard evidence, again, of past lives being real, because there's no question. So the issue here is, I don't think that's a great question, Alex. How many past lives do we have? It's not trillions. I wouldn't guess. This is where I hate to do speculation. I don't have hard evidence. I do have hard evidence of my past lives. I do have some memories. I did recapitulate, and I'm not going to go in full detail, but there's no question that, like, for example, I was a Buddhist. This absolute fascination that I've had since I was a kid. When I first heard Buddhism in the age of like 15 or 16 in the religions class in Oak Park High School with Mr. Goff. Why do I remember that? Isn't that crazy? I lit up like a Christmas tree. I couldn't believe that Buddhism existed. When I was a Jew, I was like, no, I want to be a Buddhist. But this is why I have such a clear memory of the Portala and the chanting and the Om Mani Padme Om. And because that's a recapitulated memory of mine, that I have, very little left brain this lifetime, but the cellular memory. So what you're going to learn in the astrology class is now let me come into present time. So there's 2 hard evidence, 2 hard case, solid case examples where past lives are real. And it's not for me to speculate. I can tell you the story of mine. That's a very small example I'm giving you of what happened when I found Buddhism, and then how I continued, and how one of the greatest loves of my life is a benefactor of a Sangha in India, because as you probably all know, the Rinpoche was exiled from the Portala. That beautiful space up in Tibet has been turned into, I hate to say this, into a mall. The Chinese have taken it over. There's no more sacred space in Tibet. That's the Portala. But what did happen was that place has now returned to Dharamsala in India, where the Rinpoches are now living, including the Dalai Lama. They've had to be forced to go to India. And one of my dearest friends of my lifetime, who I've been with for lifetimes, is a benefactor of that particular Sangha that he particularly has given money to for years. It's his good karma or his good dharma to support that. And that's the whole thing about past lives is you all, so I'm going to come into present time. I wanted to tell you those two stories. So all of you have had past lives. You can't come into this incarnation at this level where you have a computer to listen to. You're in a very high level manifestation if you have a computer. You're in a very high level manifestation if you have food to eat and a bed to sleep in, and you have a car to drive, and you can put gas in your car, and you have a credit card. Those are indicators that you've continued up the spiral. If you think of past lives, I don't want you to think of past lives as that, trillions of them in a row. It's an evolutionary spiral like this, and it continues across time. But your evolution, which is why taking the astrology class is so important, your evolution one life to the next is dependent on the accruing of good karma, the merit, accruing merit. So how do you accrue merit to establish your value in a lifetime? It's not by generating money and having children and getting married or having a nice car. Those are all certainly major reflections of your good karma, especially if you're taking care of your kids and taking care of your car and taking care of your husband or wife. That's accruing good merit. It's not, though, defined by the measurement stick of what the world looks like. It's defined by the nature of your heart. So when you learn astrology in level 1, you fall in love with yourself. Something happens. I just got the most beautiful love letter today you could ever imagine from one of our level 3 people. I almost want to read it to you. Carrie, did you get that this morning?
Yes, it was so sweet.
Oh my God. One of her lines was, I drank from the nectar of my essence. And that's what she learned in level 1. But it was reflected in level 3 because she came when she got to do readings with us and found out how much she'd done her homework in learning astrology. So that's so sweet. I just read what somebody wrote, Kathleen. Our parents somehow yanked us out of our trajectories and caused each of us to be diverted to them instead. Not in a good way. Neither of us chose to be with them. We know we didn't. We got diverted. I'm not sure, Kathleen, two of you can get diverted. Your parents can't have that much pull on you. And if they do, that's going to be their bad karma, and your good karma is to turn it into a happy story. So here's what I want to say to you. Everybody has an evolutionary spiral that you're on. In order to evolve, you've got to be yourself. The only way to ascend or to refine your particular strand, I like to think of it as a tapestry, that every single one of you listening today has a strand in the tapestry of life. And your soul is refining the colors of that strand. So you know how when you meet certain people and you go, oh my God, I love that person. Like you're sitting next to a movie star, which doesn't necessarily mean they're evolved, but I do know some very high essences who have taken on the role of being a rock star or a singer or a dancer or a writer or a really exquisite mother. It doesn't mean they have to be famous, but the level of their expression, the quality of their eyes, the brightness of their shine, the devotion of their love, the quality of their creation, the artistic expression of their clothes. These are individuals who have done level 1. It's a sales pitch. They're people who have really committed to their individuality. So I have a client coming here in 5 minutes. It's so funny. Carrie, to do this so quick behind them. And I want to be available to her. So I'm going to just quickly say to you, the South Node in astrology, and this is level 1 in the first class, and the first level in the 3rd class, you take a dive into your shadow. And inside the shadow is the light. And the light comes through the South Node by giving you comfort where your old self was cultivating substance in your last life, hoping to develop your North Node, which is the indicator of this future lifetime and the future, or the present time leverage, or the spiral that's going to take you up is by going to your North Node. So interesting, because I resist it too. I default to my South Node. Oh my. Hold on. Okay, somebody opened the door. Thank God. Okay. So the point of the story is past lives are inheritances in the present life. You come with the collection of karma that has been cultivated and created by the merit that you did or didn't create. If your parents were the wrong parents, which all of us could say, because we learned, get this, ready? Here's the important takeaway from past lives. The hardest lessons are where you accrue merit and where your backbone is created. So the hardest lessons, when you're in financial crisis, when you're sick, when you're heartbroken, when someone screams at you, when you're devastated, this is the time where you get to design your merit and find out what you're made out of. So what I want you to hear is, in this level 1 class, why it's so important that you at least take level 1. And by the way, we do have, when the card is closed, if it's a financial concern, let us know. When the card is closed, we do have, a way to take the class without a mentor. It's called Interview, and it will be happening during the year. So if it's $1,000 to take level 1, and if that seems outrageous, you can do it in, I think it's the cheapest is $250 a month. Is that right, Carrie?
Not $250 a month, but we have a whole bunch of different payment plans on the Applied Astrology website, which I've linked in the comments. So if you need anything, just email our team and we can work with you there too.
We'll help you. So the point of the story is, the short answer, now I have to hang up because it is now time for me to go, is you are all coming in through a vague, confused memory. Unfortunately, we can remember the past, but we can't remember the future. We can remember short-term past memories of our childhood, but we can't remember the future. Isn't that crazy? Yes. And in your past, you've had past lives. I guarantee it. And in order to get to that, you go to your South Node. So having said that, I'm going to leave a few minutes early. Is there any questions that we have, Carrie, that are coming from our favorite listeners? And I don't know what we were at as far as listening or how this is going, but I sure had fun telling you my stories.
Nope, no questions. We have about over 100 people here with us live still, but I put the link for Applied Astrology in the comments. So if you want to learn, we do a whole week on North Node. So we'll go super deep into it.
Yes, and North Node is your future, this lifetime, of what to lean into, and South Node is your past lives. And those of you watching probably have a woo-woo part of your psyche, which would be your right brain, that believes in this stuff. It's not valuable to stay too far in your right brain, nor is it valuable to stay too far in your left brain. The goal of this game is to marry the spiritual with the practical, and that is what our course does. It's not enough to study astrology and talk all this woo-woo stuff if you can't apply it in your life when it comes to your body, your relationships, your health, and most of all, your service. Because the only reason why we come to this planet is for 2 reasons: to evolve the species, to take the tapestry of your strand and brighten up its color. And that's the ultimate action of service. You cannot evolve your species without a selfless heart that wants to give. So my whole life's work, and my invitation to all of you, is, would you please serve yourself by taking level 1? If there's one act that you could do that I can promise you, if I could read you that letter of what this woman just wrote this morning, it will completely melt your heart. I think it would be okay. What do you think, Carrie? Is it
I think so.
Yeah, we'll just do it anonymously. I'm going to read you this, and where is it? Here it is. Are you ready? This is the most beautiful letter I think I've ever received. As I sit on the runway waiting to leave that magical island, I was overwhelmed with gratitude, tears streaming down my face. It's an understatement to say that week spent there was so powerful for me. I drank from the cup of my own essence, and I'm changed. I had no idea how dry I was, but there amongst my tribe, I was seen. I was recognized. I was known. I was enveloped and bathed in the beautiful depths of the feminine and saw my reflection in like eyes. It was real. It fed me. It watered me. I feel shape and form again. I'm a beloved creature, beloved of the feminine and seen. I have heard calling in the distance in my whole, I have heard her calling in the distance of my whole life. I feel her in my silence. I hear her in my music. In my dreams, she has shown me radiance and consumed me with her love so fully, I never wanted to wake. I can now resend her call. I spent a lifetime turning down the volume, adjusting her intensity in order to fit in. You've guided me into the water's edge and shown me my reflection. I see clearly. Thank you from the depths of my soul. I accept my gifts. I accept the call. I accept my beloved soul. I'm going to leave it at that. Whoa, that's what I woke up to this morning. And that's what I want to invite you to level 1. Well, she was at level 3, but you could just start with level 1. All you got to do is start with level 1, you guys. Now, if that wasn't a good sales pitch, I don't know what was. Okay, you guys, off I go. Blessings to all of you. Level 1, the cart is open until February 4th, till Sunday. We're opening the cart. Is that correct, Carrie?
Yes, it is.
So all you have to do is sign up. It's a guarantee. You've got the first week to see the class material. Take the first class, and if you don't like it, it's a money back guarantee. And we're having a party already. I'm sending you lots of love. Prepare yourself for this big, giant full moon lunar eclipse. It's going to be the biggest. It's a super moon. It's a blue moon. It's a very significant moment. And it's all about astrology. It's Aquarius. I think that's so funny. Okay. Thank you, Carrie Morley. Thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
All of you for listening today.